Now, an iterator is what we use to walk through the contents of a collection. There's a specific data type that's created to be able to deal with this. When I group up data in some sort of bag, like we talked about before, we have this little package of data that's contained. I don't know how many items are in it. I don't know where they start. I don't know where they end. So I have to have a way of looking at that without knowing the arrangement of what's built inside. Remember, a collection could be a set, could be a list, could be a tree, could be a map, could be an array, could be a linked list. I don't know how that data is entitled. I don't know how to deal with that data inside. So instead, an iterator is used to walk through the collection one element at a time. Think of it as kind of like a train. I don't know what's in each box. I don't know how anybody chose to put them on the tracks. From all the boxes that were there, when I asked to get a shipment, they put them on one at a time, whatever order that was stored internally, and they send them over. So I don't know if they were putting all the red cars together and all the yellow cars together, or if they put all the fruits and all the vegetables together. I don't know if they just randomly assorted out there. When I received them one car at a time after going down the tracks. That's exactly the concept of what an iterator does for us. It lets us start with one element and go to the next one. Now, it doesn't let us skip to the 10th car. Don't give that impression out there. Don't take the analogy too far. It literally chugs them along one at a time. So I have some method inside of here. I'm writing out the items in my collection. And I am passing in, again, you see a collection C. All collections have an iterator to that. And so using this for loop inside of here, I can say for iterator I. You can arrange this in a number of different ways. I'm just using a for loop. And so iterator I is C.iterator. So from the collection C, I'm asking for the iterator. And so inside of the iterator, I can say I.hasNext. And so as long as it has another object inside of it, that will return true. It doesn't advance us to the next object. It just asks, do you have more to give? Is there more cars on my train? And so when I say I.next, it goes and gets me that car. It takes it out of the iterator, takes it off of the train line, and then I deal with the contents of that. You can see in this case, I say I.next, I take the .to string, I'm printing that out, and then I go to the next. I say, does it have another one? Yes, then give me the next one. So if I have a 10 train car, I say I.next, 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 10 times, and then I have all the items, and then it no longer has items inside of there. If I get to the last one, then I.hasNext returns false, and then I stop looping through this. So an iterator is pretty straightforward. It allows us to go through these guys one at a time. Now, you might have noticed advanced for loop logic allows you to take anything that is iterable, any collection that has an iterator on it, and I think you can do this with array as well, and you can say for object O, because all collections contain object O, then it will go through this and do all the logic we just saw up here, all this stuff we saw up here, it'll put that secretly inside of there. It'll go through them one at a time. So it goes to the first one and gives them to me. I print it out. Goes to the second one, gives it to me. Print it out. Goes to the third one, give it to me. I don't have to have one line of code inside the for loop. I can have any number of lines of code inside the for loop. But it creates this variable out here, which I named O. I can name anything inside here. It could be object. It could be next person in line. It could be whatever you want to name it to be. And then I loop through that each time for each item in my iterator. So it makes it really simple to deal with this, where I don't have to deal with anything as long as I know the type of the data. And all of them could be object O. All of them could be object of class inside there, because that's the highest level object you can have in any Java language element. So one note, when I'm dealing with an iterator, I cannot change the collection along the way. So if I would be looping through either through a regular O or through a collection, I'm handing the collection, I say I want to remove an object, and say I'm iterating through the object, I say O.next, if O is equal to the object I'm supposed to remove, C.remove, well, you'll get a concurrent modification exception. Basically what it's saying is while you're dealing with the train car, you can't take anything out of the train yard. You can go through and you can edit the train, you can change the things in the cart, you can move things out of the train car. What you cannot do, what you're not allowed to do at all inside of there, is to eliminate a train car altogether. You can't take an object out of it because that confuses the system. I'm busy iterating. If you take something out, it could reshuffle and resort everything inside of there. Instead, what you have to do is you have to deal with the iterator directly. So you cannot use the fancy for loop, which is why I didn't use it in this example. I have to call iterator I.remove. The remove will safely go in through the iterator and say, I'm going to take this out of the list. I'm going to go through and do that for you, and then not screw up everything along the way. You can go through and you can move that out of the list by using the iterator. That's the most important little key towards the trick of dealing with iterators inside of there. All right, so one little note, so you can see this before, as kind of a preview before you get into threading. Again, threading is not super important right now. You'll see it later on. But your basic threads are, and your iterators are not thread safe. So if you want a thread safe version of that, all you have to do is have this helper class out there, collections, with an S inside of that. Notice the little S. And you can say, I want to synchronize to any collection, any list, or any set. And it'll return back to you, still an interface, but wrapped up in a synchronized thread safe view. And this is particularly important when iterating through items, because then it'll give us basically a version that I can go through and see it and manipulate it and move it and not screw up anybody else who might see it and deal with it and move it. So that's why I noticed it here. It's not super important for now, just something I wanted to have in your head for later on.